Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of KickSaga. Today, we're going to be following up with the duo of Matt and Savanah Mundy from Seacow Games, and we're going to see how their Kickstarter for Flock Together went. If you want to catch the first interview in this episode, it's on our channel, so go watch that first to see what they did to prepare, and now we're going to see the results. So, how you guys doing?
Yeah, thanks for having us. We're doing good.
Excellent. Thanks for being here. So it looks like, no surprise, the Kickstarter was a rousing success. It looks like it funded very quickly and did very well. So congratulations, first of all.
Thanks.
And let's dig into it. So I kind of like to start these follow-up interviews out with kind of walking through the first day with you. So you clicked the launch button, or I guess with Kickstarter, you schedule it so it's already kind of ready to go.
You have to click a button.
You have to click the button.
You do have to click the button.
You can't schedule it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that it's like a physical, like, okay, here we go. We're pressing the button. So take me through how everything progressed after you clicked that button.
Yeah, it was very exciting, a little bit terrifying. We clicked the button and it took off, and it was really incredible the first day, especially to see everybody come together and support the project. And it was really encouraging to see.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those notifications are popping up constantly, trying to keep track of who's posting a question on the discussion, and is it coming through the inbox or the public one, or where do you go to?
Yeah, did you guys kind of tag team it on two different computers, or someone on their phone and someone on the computer?
Yeah, I would be responding to stuff, and she'd be like, okay, now there's someone over here, there's someone here, because I want to make sure to respond to everybody if I can. To be thankful for the support and to answer any questions they had.
Well, and the way the board works, right? Yeah. It's not based on time of when it was posted. You can do a thread way down here and miss it, except that there's one more, and where is it?
Wow, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
So did the trajectory of kind of the support follow what you were expecting? Was it a little bit better than expected? A little bit under expectations? How did kind of that first day line up with your expectations?
Yeah, I think right where we would hoped it would be. I think we talked about last time about me kind of wanting to have my cake and eat it too. I want a realistic funding goal, and I want to fund on day one, and that totally happened.
Nice.
In under 3 hours. So it was super great. And we funded it in the middle of the Dice Towers doing their live play. So that was neat to be watching them play and to fund at the same time.
Very cool. Did you purposely kind of schedule that, or did it just happen to line up that way?
Scheduling the Dice Tower folks?
Yeah. The live playthrough.
Yeah. We thought it'd be great to for them to do a live play the day we went live, so more people could see, Flock Together in action.
Super.
It was, things just lined up really well.
We didn't know those would coincide though, like the completion and the.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, didn't plan that part.
But you set it up specifically for the first day of your campaign, and
right.
I think that was super smart.
Traffic.
Yeah. That kind of creates that snowball. Very cool. So actually, let's take a step back and talk about the day before the launch. What did you do to prepare? What kind of things did you have set up ready to go before you hit that button?
Yeah. So I had, just the text of what I would post on our Facebook page and our Facebook group. I had the email for our email subscribers ready to go. All typed out with all the images and things like that. I had, touch base with all the video reviewers and how-toers and previewers to make sure they had the right links in the descriptions, and coordinate with them what time to make sure to have everything be live and unlocked.
Right.
And only one reviewer. We got mixed up with time zones and stuff, so one was locked for a little bit, but just things like that. Making sure that all the text was ready to go, so that when I launched, I could send the email. I wouldn't have to spend time trying to type it out.
I'm curious. Did you send any get ready? We're about to launch kind of emails to your email list, and how many? How frequently did you kind of do that lead up
Yeah, I think I did probably like I think it was like 3 days
Okay.
in advance for my email subscribers. Just to let them know it was coming. On the Facebook group, I keep it a little more up to date there. So I update more frequently. So I think I told them like 24 hours left and things like that.
Cool. Great. So you get through that first day, you fund very quickly. What happens after that? Kind of what is the next step? Are you kind of just focused on answering questions in the comments? Are you doing other stuff? What are the next few days like?
Yeah. So on the first day, we had over 100 comments. I think almost 200 comments on just the Kickstarter page, and there's like Facebook, and so trying to make sure to respond to everybody. Had to make sure we had a good update to give everybody. We weren't doing stretch goals, so instead of with updates being like, "Hey, we have this new stretch goal," it's kind of thinking like, "Okay, well, how do we pull back the curtain and show people interesting content that doesn't have to do with stretch goals?" And so one idea we had was, okay, let's get a coloring page by Andrew Bosley. My niece had the idea. She was like,
Nice.
She's like, "Uncle Matt, like, can you can I have a coloring page for Flock Together?" I was like, "It's a great idea. Let's see if we can do it." So that was one of our updates.
I think Andrew Bosley's art is perfect for like a coloring book type of drawing. So that's awesome.
Yeah. So it wasn't a stretch goal. It was just like, "Hey, community, like, thanks for your support. Like, here's something that we were able to make happen."
Right. And I noticed also throughout the campaign, you kind of talked about the different bird characters and kind of went into some of the lore of the game and stuff like that. How was that received by the community?
I think people liked it. There are interesting characters, and they do have interesting backstories, and the art's interesting. And so, just trying to highlight as much as we can for the followers is what we tried to do.
Make them feel like a part of what's going on. Yeah. We also had like you could submit fan art.
Oh yeah, we had a contest.
So that was a fun thing.
Nice.
People were excited about.
It's a good way to keep people engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So things are going great. You're answering all the questions. What was kind of the most common question or the most frequently asked question, I guess, that you got in the comments?
A lot of people were asking about, will you make Flock Together in X language? I was like, I wish we could. I'd love to, but we're not right now. It's just an English launch. Hopefully we'll get there one day. But, a lot of people's questions, kind of revolved around what they've come to expect for the Kickstarters, where established companies kind of use it as a pre-order and not as like a help this dream come to life. So a lot of people were like, why? Like, shouldn't I just wait till retail? I was like, well, yeah, that'd be cool. Maybe. I mean, if you want the game, you should get it now because, if we fund, we're going to make this first print run and we'll see what happens. So if you like it, you should hop on. So all the questions like that.
Yeah, and I think that goes to show how professional your campaign looked. I think a lot of people would look at that and say, "Oh, this is an established company, or they know what they're doing, or they've got a long history of doing this," and so they're expecting all of those things like multiple languages and the retail release and all of that. And so it's great that you're able to kind of talk them through that. But I think that's a testament to how kind of professionally done the page was. And all of that stuff. So who did you guys use or hire to kind of piece together the Kickstarter page?
Yeah, that was our graphic designer, John Merchant. He's been great. It's been a dream to work with him through the whole project. Nice. We kind of started with like, hey, we kind of give him like some high, bird's eye view ideas about where we wanted to go and how we wanted to do it, and he just did it for us. And then we came at the end. It was like, hey, this is amazing. Let's tweak a couple things here, or a few visual changes. But I mean, it was all him, and he did amazing work for us.
Kind of throughout the whole process, we've been doing like, what's the next step, the next thing we need to learn to do. And so it was really great that he was like, I've done Kickstarter pages before. This is the typical flow. This is, what people are looking for at the top. I was like, okay, let's start there. That sounds great. We'll do some research.
Yeah, just listen to the experts, who've been through this before and learn from them, right? That's That's what it's all about, I think. Cool. So did you guys kind of experience a mid-campaign slump, as they say, or, kind of the middle period of the campaign? How was that like? What did you do to keep the momentum going?
Yeah. So one thing I as things started to slow down, I had less comments to respond to. I had, with a new company, the thing that most people would probably struggle with is just knowing you exist. So we have a good game, we have a good product, it's being made well. So I was like, I have time. Why don't I just email every friendly local game store that I could find in the whole country? So I set about doing that, and I sent out a gajillion emails, and so that took a lot of time.
Nice. And what were you trying to do? Just get them to back the campaign, like at a retail pledge level?
Yeah, just letting them know, answering some questions like, hey, we're out, we exist. We have a retail pledge made for brick and mortars like you. Here's our campaign. Here's our how-to video. Here's a couple images, just to try and help them see what it was about. And, not all brick and mortar stores back Kickstarters, but some do. And so that was encouraging to see some traction there from them.
What feedback, if any, did you get from them, or what kind of reception did you get from sending all those emails?
Yeah, we probably got a few dozen retailers ended up backing the campaign or reaching out afterwards, saying like, hey, I've had people even reach out, this week, being like, hey, we finally got around to your email. Is it too late for us? Can we still hop on? How do we do this? So that's been really cool.
Yeah, it looks like you got 72 backers on the retail pledge level, which is really good. Like, it's usually, if you get a dozen, you're lucky. So that's it sounds like that helped, just having that personal touch, reaching out, and just letting them know what's going on and what the game is about.
Yeah,
I think it also helped us just with our own sanity, because it is a long time.
Yeah, 30 days is a long time.
And a lot of last day is going to be the big push. Let's get there kind of thing. So I think it was good just to have something productive to be doing and trying and still involved. Not feel like the whole time is just
waiting. It's like an athlete who's been training for years and then finally goes to the Olympics. It's like, okay, well, we're here. This is the push we've been pushing for years. I can sleep when I'm dead. Let's crank out this work. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah. Cool. What else did you do? Especially towards the end. So let's kind of get towards the end of the campaign. It's that final push. What kind of things did you do to try to get anybody who's on the fence to pledge?
Yeah. We were able to make our shipping to Canada a little bit cheaper. So all our Canadian backers, I'm sure, appreciated that. And a couple of people who were on the fence, just waiting to see if the shipping, because they asked the things like, the shipping seems kind of high. Is there anything we can do about that? I'm like, listen, if I can, I will. This is what it is right now. And if I can make it cheaper, I'll pass that right on to you. I'm not looking to profit from shipping. And so, in the last few days, I was able to talk to the right people and, change who we're using for Canada. And so it worked out, and I didn't make a big deal about it. I didn't list it in the update, I don't think. But I responded to people who'd reached out, and I posted in the frequently asked questions, just like, hey, the Canadian shipping's gone down, and we updated the table. So I think that's one of the main things we did.
I would say also you, I hadn't expected this, but you might have had it in your mind already, but to keep the ads level the same. Yeah. I thought after day 2 we'd probably decrease it, and it's like, no, we're still getting traction. Shouldn't. Okay.
Yeah, so we kept the ads running.
So that's another big push. Yeah, to keep it in people's minds and aware. And then also the BGG page, that ad was there too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you kept that going throughout the whole campaign.
And then had the banner, right? Something changed the day before.
Yeah. The day beforehand, we had like the homepage banner. It's like, final hours. And
nice. And then how about the folks like on your email list and in the social media groups? How often were you kind of reminding them, hey, the Kickstarter's live, this is your last chance kind of thing?
Yeah. We did that. You can use that everyone tag in your group. I think I did it like at the beginning of the campaign. I was like, hey, we're live now. like what we've been waiting for is finally here. And I did at the end saying, hey, all you procrastinators, like now's your last chance. But the Facebook communities, it's been like really active and really supportive. So for the most part, they were the ones who were, helping spearhead the launch on day one.
Nice.
With all the hype and support.
I don't think it was any arm twisting there. Yeah.
Yeah.
We did do like when we reached, you made a funny video when we reached 100,000. So just some things like that of like you're, building back in the audience and telling him.
Video of me chase my chicken around the yard,
Nice. Cool. So what kind of surprised you the most about this whole experience of launching on Kickstarter? Either for good or for bad, something that didn't go as expected and it was a disappointment, or something that went better than expected?
I think one thing I was surprised by, which, another person in the industry that we've been talking to had like told me about this, is that, a lot of people cancel when you send a project update. I don't know. I was like, oh, that's so weird. So whenever I posted a project update, I'd see like a minor flurry of cancellations. I think it's people, being reminded that they maybe impulse backed something, or
right.
It's like, oh yeah, I forgot to impulse back that at the moment.
When I would say mine ties into that of just the mental game. I wasn't really aware of what that was going to be like. Like even on those days when there was, a period where it was like, oh, what's happening? It was still overall net positive.
Yeah, we never had any negative days.
But it gets in your head of like, everybody's canceling. It's like, no, it's really not. It's not that many people, and people are still adding. And I mean, the same thing kind of on comments. Some people, would say things that were just a little like, well, we've already answered that, or we've addressed that. And they would just kind of keep going. And it's really easy for me, especially to get in there and be like, why are they doing this? What's happening? And it's like 3 people. You're fine. Okay.
Which we knew to expect that. But it's still like, a little bothersome when it happens. Yeah. Eventually with one person, I was like, flock together is not for everybody, and that's okay. If it's like, if you want an open world exploration, I recommend Sleeping Gods. If you want a little more dungeon crawler, check out Jaws of the Lion. Or it was like, I'll just point you to the kind of games that you seem like that you really want to have in this game.
So just kind of that, like learning to be like, actually, what's the whole story? What's going on here? Yeah. We don't need to be emotionally invested in this one incident. There's a million great things happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny how that's probably the number one comment I get in this interview series when I ask, what's going on in the campaign and what's the biggest, surprise or takeaway. And it's always the emotional roller coaster that people like aren't really prepared for, because you can read about the stats and how to, get followers and
why
all
would
the
it be like that? Yeah.
check boxes and stuff like that. And then and you hear about that it can, be a bit of an emotional roller coaster, but it's always something that everyone comments on. It's like, I just didn't realize how much of an emotional roller coaster it would be. And I can imagine just, having this campaign that's doing well, but then, you see like a few cancellations come through, and then your brain probably says like, oh my gosh, this is the start of the end. Like
it's all downhill from here.
All downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's I appreciate you guys and everyone else who I interview saying that, because I think it's just something that hopefully when folks continue to hear that they know that they're not alone when it happens to them. Like I think it's inevitable. It's going to happen to everyone, that you're going to have up days and down days during the campaign, and even folks who wildly overfund still kind of go through those challenges. So
and ultimately it's just remembering there might be like a half a dozen people who are more vocal with their complaints. But there's thousands of people who are like thrilled and excited for the project and can't wait to get it.
It's like maintaining that perspective.
Yeah.
Totally. Cool. So what's next? Like, what are the next steps? What are you guys working on right now? As far as like after the campaign and then kind of the next, months and years down the road?
Yeah. So immediately, a lot of people really like the chicken dice. So I talked with our manufacturer, hey, can I just get like a handful of those, just to sell to people who like dice, and maybe, because I think I'll get those today in the mail. And I can put them on the website just for people who really like chicken dice, or who want some extra, or who want a little taste of flock together sooner rather than later. Cool. So that's one thing, get some of the chicken dice and some character stickers up on the website for people to get. And I think longer term, it's wanting to fulfill the game well. We have more things in mind and other prototypes that we've been working on so far. But ultimately, we want to make sure that this one gets delivered well.
Yep.
So not putting the cart ahead of the horse and not leaning too heavy on the next one before we make sure that everybody gets flocked together and is really satisfied with what they get.
Right. What are you guys using for a pledge manager? Did we go over that last interview? I don't remember.
I can't quite remember. So we're going to end up using we're going to do our e-commerce. So people who want to buy the game after the campaign fulfills, they're going to be able to do that through AllPlay. And so we'll be doing our pledge manager with them.
Oh, through AllPlay. Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. I haven't heard anyone using them as a pledge manager before. How did that come about? Did they approach you? Is that something you found out on your own?
Yeah, we connected at one of the at a couple conventions that we had seen them with.
Oh, cool. Is that something that they have available to any project, or is that something you kind of?
I don't think so. It's relatively new, so I think everything's still being figured out.
Interesting. Okay, well, cool. I'll be interested to see how that looks and how that works. And so you guys are, I guess, still working on setting that up.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay. Any other? Okay. Here's a question I want to ask. So, I might speak for some people who are watching this, but I personally feel like you guys make this look easy. Like you've made this look very easy. Like everything's just gone super well. There's been no huge hiccups. So of course I attribute that to just the tremendous amount of work you guys did up front and the time you spent and the care you've taken. But I'm sure there's been challenges. I'd love to just hear your perspective on like what's been the hardest part of this, or what's been the most challenging part of this, like this entire journey for you guys.
How far back are we going in this journey?
Let's go all the way back.
All the way back.
Because I want people who are kind of start thinking about getting a game and taking it to Kickstarter, and who are watching these series and kind of, trying to get all their ducks in a row. What are some things that they can relate to that you've gone through, or some things that they could try to avoid that you had challenges with, those kinds of things.
Yeah. I think, on this side of things, it's like a weight's off my shoulders, right? Because launch day happened, it went well. The campaign, we were sitting there the last time and like even like a few days, like we're not gonna break 300. We're not going to, but we could. But and so coming on the last day, we broke 300. Like, oh my gosh, this is amazing! We actually did it.
Nice.
It was really cool. But in the beginning, it's when you're cutting out that cardstock prototype and it looks ugly as heck, and you're like, oh, and everyone's telling you this game sucks, and you're like, you're right, it does. I need to make it better. And then you finally get like, okay, the game's good now, but it's still ugly. Let's contact Illustrator. There's a lot of points at which you could stop. At what point you could be satisfied, or you could accept a mediocre version of what you could achieve. And it is risky. It's putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. But we had a vision for what we wanted, and we didn't want to stop there. It's like, okay, I want the game to be excellent, so I will find people who hate my game just so I can hear why. It's like, okay, I have people who love the game. Great, I'm glad you love it. That's awesome. Let me find people who hate it, just so I can, because I want it to be good. I want it to be perfect, right? And it's like, okay, I could find a regular illustrator, but I want Andrew the Bosley to do the art, right? And so it's just things like that, and it's really easy to get discouraged, I think. I think the constant points at which you could be discouraged out of doing it is probably the hardest thing. Like when I first tried to do my Kickstarter preview page, I got the automated email from Kickstarter saying, okay, we reject your pre-launch page. You have one more chance, and after that we're gonna kill it. Like, you can't do it again. I was like, oh my gosh, like what am I gonna do? We're gonna be dead in the water before we start. And then when it gets approved, and you have like one follower, 2 followers. It's like, okay, we'll depend, because we want to make this game so grand. It's gonna be really expensive. We need so many followers, and we have like 3. And so at each point, I think it's like, okay, push in, onwards and upwards the whole time. So I think just the constant pursuit is probably the hardest thing.
I would say for me, I think you're more the visionary. Like all the steps that are taken to make this happen for me, it was like, we're doing this one thing. Okay, we did it. Great. Oh, but here's the whole next thing I know nothing about. We've got to do. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then here's the next thing. And so I think for me, freight and shipping still at this point is like, you know what you're doing. You have it in a row, but he wants my input. I'm like, I don't even, what's happening?
Yeah.
The game I could touch. This thing is kind of outside of that. But I would also say, at points, most of the time I would say you were the one like, no, we're keeping on. But there were a couple of times where you're like, should we do this? I was like, well, at this point, we've already done, right? Like, we just need to keep going,
Should I spend $1,000 on stickers? Like, that feels really irresponsible.
Like, well, if this whole thing is irresponsible, then that's really not going to matter. So just keep on.
I suppose I should spend $1,000 on stickers.
But I would say, like, overall, yeah, you were good at thinking of all those pieces, and I've just been like, oh, okay, we're not done now that there's a game. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just the beginning. But it's a constant education, right? You're always learning new things, and it's always kind of, what's the next thing I need to learn? And this whole industry that I don't even know about, now I have to learn the ins and outs of it, like shipping and logistics. That's something that's foreign to me as well, and so I'm kind of just trying to soak up all the information I can as I go along. And I guess that's the fun of it, though, right? It's discovering new things and new challenges and overcoming those challenges. So let's flip the question. What has been the best, most exciting, most, fulfilling part of this journey for you both?
Yeah, I mean, other than the project finally coming to life, like the game will come into existence, we're not going to take the money and run to a foreign country with it. We're not going to use it to fund like a past game that didn't succeed or anything like that. So like, it's great. Like we had this dream, we had this vision of the game we wanted to come into existence, and now it will. So that's really exciting. Another thing is, the elephant is getting eaten one bite at a time. All the stuff that we don't know is this giant elephant. But there's a finite amount of information that we don't know in this field, right? Like once we know it, once we learn and we educate ourselves, like we know it now. Yeah. And so, just seeing the first, like, okay, well, we did enough research, we prepared enough that the Kickstarter went pretty smoothly. Like we didn't have any big fires that erupted or these big massive things that went wrong. So it was really encouraging to see like all the work we did paid off.
I would say just the snapshot for me. We recently had somebody who lives, a little bit outside our community, but kind of that was on the Facebook page and got in touch, and she came over and played the game, and just seeing her, nice. We'd seen her excitement on the Facebook page and enjoyed, her interactions and all that, but her seeing the real product and just being as excited about it as we are, and being able to touch it and notice all the details. And I mean, it was just really fun. Very to see cool. Not only is this thing real and it's happening, but like real people are doing this and enjoying it and touching it. And that's going to be really cool to see happen more and more, as it actually comes to everybody's tables. Yeah.
Very cool. While we wrap things up, the final question I have for you guys is, what sort of piece of advice would you have for aspiring self-publishers out there as they are getting started on their Kickstarter journey?
I would say you be willing to have someone take off the kid gloves. People can get really attached to their game and talk like, oh, it's my baby. It's like, it's not. It's a game. We love games, but they're games. So if someone wants to critique it, it's your job to be humble enough to receive any feedback they have. And to be discerning enough to say, okay, that feedback, I'm grateful that you gave it to me, but I'm not going to follow it. And this piece of advice that you gave me, I'm grateful for it, and I need to rework some things. So you have to have discernment to decide between, keeping it and not keeping it, because that's your job to decide it. But be willing to hear people critique it and know it's not a personal attack. It's okay if your game's not for everyone, but really find the people who don't like it, figure out why, and then fix it. And then you'll have a really good product at the end.
Excellent. How about you?
Mine's, I've got an A and B, I guess. But the first thing I'm thinking of is and this is something I think has really applied in our sphere, is this is something you need to enjoy. You need to believe the game is good. You need to believe the way it's created, the theme, all those things are fun and interesting to you before you can ever sell it to anybody else. And I think that's a huge piece of what's carried us through this, is you believed in the project. And then my second piece would be this is such a generous community. There's tons of resources. There's tons of people willing to talk. Any question you have, anybody you see doing something that you like how they're doing it, email them, talk to them. Across the board, they've been willing to talk and give us input. So just kind of you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Find somebody who's rolling and figure out what piece of that you could incorporate into your project.
Very cool. Great advice, guys. Again, congrats on the success of the launch. And where can people find out more about the game if they want to check it out?
Yeah, just our website, seacowboardgames.com.
Very good. Well, thank you, Matt and Savanah, for being here today. And can't wait to see what you guys come out with next. I know you've got some stuff cooking, and and you're not focused on that now, but I'm sure we'll hear about it soon. So I look forward to seeing that. And otherwise, take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
And thank you guys for watching this episode of KickSaga. If you like what you've seen, go ahead and click that subscribe button under this video, and then click that bell icon to be notified when the next episode launches. We've got a lot of great interviews coming up with people who are taking their board game idea to Kickstarter, and we'll see how they prepared and how things turned out. And as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.